Think of children. They don't just exist, they erupt. They express themselves with a raw intensity, laughing with the force of thunder and weeping as if the very foundation of the sky had fractured. You see them spinning in dizzying circles in the center of a bustling crowd, asking the why of the world without a shred of hesitation. They dance to melodies only they can hear, they make noise in hallowed public spaces, and they drape themselves in joy as if it were an unbreakable suit of armor. In those early years, the concept of being watched or evaluated simply doesn't exist. They are alive, utterly, unapologetically, and vibrantly alive. Then a shift occurs. It isn't a sudden crash, but a slow, rhythmic erosion. The child who once sprinted barefoot through the tall grass begins to tread more softly. The shouting fades into a murmur. They begin to tuck themselves away rather than standing in the light. You notice the hesitation before a question is asked, the stifled breath before a laugh gets too loud. They have become aware. They have realized that their very existence is no longer just a fact, but a performance being observed, judged, and graded by the world around them. What is it that truly silences a human soul? It isn't always a grand, loud rejection. More often, it is the weight of 1,000 tiny moments. It's the subtle, sideways glance, the heavy, disappointed sigh from a parent, the sharp, impatient edge in a teacher's voice. It's the friend who giggles at a moment of vulnerability, or the adult who carelessly says, "Stop being so dramatic," or "Don't act so strange," or "You're just too much." A child may not understand the complex machinery of society, but they have an expert's grasp on the language of pain. They might not be able to define shame, but they can feel it taking root in their chest. Once that seed is planted, it thrives. They abandon the hobbies that brought them bliss because it made someone else uncomfortable. They swallow their thoughts because they were told they speak too much. They become still. They become hushed. And the world looks at them and calls it maturity. But we must be honest, often this isn't maturity at all. It is damage dressed up in the costume of discipline. The world demands you hide your true self long before you've even had the chance to discover who that person is. And so the spirited, inquisitive child transforms into the guarded teenager who keeps their eyes fixed on the floor. It isn't a choice made of desire. It's a survival tactic. They have been conditioned to believe that silence is the only safe harbor. And perhaps, in a cynical world, it is. Because what happens when you finally speak? You risk being dismissed. What happens when you show your tears? You risk being mocked. When you share a dream, someone is always there to tell you to be realistic. Silence becomes the new armor. But unlike the joy they wore as children, this armor grows heavier with every passing year. Soon, you aren't just quiet, you are becoming distant. You aren't just shy, you are becoming invisible.
Observers will look at you and say, "Oh, they're just an introvert." But they don't see the internal battlefield behind that quiet exterior. They don't realize that being hushed was never an inherent personality trait, it was a response. It was a mechanism for survival. When the environment tells you it is unsafe to be yourself, you do the only thing you can. You construct a mask. A polite smile, a compliant nod, a scripted "I'm fine," even while you are crumbling inside. You wear the mask for so long that you begin to lose the memory of the loud, free spirit that lives underneath. While some introversion is certainly a natural personality type, for many, it is a sanctuary built from necessity. It isn't about needing alone time to recharge, it's about the crushing feeling of being unseen, even in a crowded room. It's the lingering memory of the time your voice trembled while you tried to share your heart and someone laughed. To protect yourself from a pain that felt too massive for your younger self to carry, you buried your spirit beneath layers of quiet. Maybe you were that child. Maybe you are that adult now. People see you as reserved or mysterious, never knowing that you used to run into rooms as if you owned the world. You were silenced by the reward of your stillness and the punishment of your expression. You learned that being yourself carried a price you could no longer afford to pay. The tragedy is that the world applauds your composure while ignoring the storm you've locked in the basement of your mind. Underneath every quiet person is a history, a specific moment, a sharp memory, a bruise that was never given the space to heal. You weren't born to hide, you were pushed into the shadows. Silence became your shelter, then your prison, and eventually your identity. But what if that silence was never who you were meant to be? What if it was just the person you had to become to make it through? Time is said to heal, but silence is not the same as healing. Sometimes silence just means you've grown tired of explaining yourself. You start living entirely within your own mind, rehearsing conversations that will never happen, crying in rooms where the walls are the only witnesses. You become a master of an internal universe, looking calm on the surface, while the child inside is still screaming to be noticed. What breaks us isn't always a singular catastrophe. It is the thousands of microscopic cuts, the emotional absence, the cold shoulders, being praised for who you aren't and punished for who you are. So you choose the path of least resistance. Don't speak unless prompted, don't share unless it's vital, don't feel unless you are safely alone. You become an expert at disappearing. And while the labels like loner or antisocial get thrown around, they miss the truth. They don't talk about how this version of introversion is born from a fear that your vulnerability is a liability. Yet, deep down, that loud, curious child isn't dead. They're just waiting. They whisper to you when the music hits a certain note, or when a piece of art stirs a forgotten emotion. They stir when a rare friend looks you in the eye and truly communicates that it is safe to come out. Your trust is expensive because it was bought with past heartbreak. You scan rooms for danger, you measure the energy of a conversation, and you calculate the cost of every word, because life taught you that a mistake could cost you everything. You find solace in books and films because characters are safer than people. It aches to be so full of life and yet appear so numb to the world. This is the story no one sees, the past that sculpted your silence. But you must hear this. You are not broken. You are an adaptive survivor. You did what you had to do. But as you sit with these words, something might be stirring. You might be realizing that the armor can be taken off, piece by piece. You are not just a label. You are a person with infinite layers. There is power in your quiet, but there is also a profound, necessary healing in your expression. Your sensitivity is not a flaw. It is a high-level intelligence. Your depth is not a weakness, it is your greatest wisdom. You weren't built for the shallow waters of small talk, you were built for the deep ocean of soul talk. The world doesn't need more noise, but it desperately needs more meaning. You carry a unique meaning forged in the fire of your experiences. Do not regret the walls you built. They kept you alive when things were hard. But perhaps now it is time to stop building walls and start carving out windows. Let a little light in. Let a little of yourself out. Not all at once, but one breath at a time. The world might not be ready for your voice, but you are. It is time to remember who you were before the world told you to be quiet. It is time to finally live.